Municipal Development District Joint Budget Workshop to order. City Council, we have a quorum.
We have MDD has a quorum.
Okay. I know y'all just did the
Yeah.
invocation, pledge of allegiance. I think we'll just revert and we'll wait till the City Council meeting. So everybody's good with that? So that will move us off of 2. We'll move on to item 3. Discuss and consider action on the City of Vernia Municipal Development District 2019-2020 fiscal year budget. Yabon.
All right, since the budget are printing, I guess we'll discuss the tax rate first. The current tax rate we're in right now is $19.99. The effective tax rate that they came up with was $19.68. Remember, the effective tax rate is the same amount of money that came in last year. So that's what the rate would be to bring that in. The rollback tax rate, which is 8%, is 0.2125. And the proposed, what I'm proposing is to keep it the same at 0.91999. So basically the tax rate will stay the same. This is a 1.58% increase over last year's tax rate. So even though the tax rate is staying the same, it is still considered an increase. So the taxes will go up by 1.58%. On an average home,
That's based upon property value increases?
that is correct. So on an average home, the effective tax rate would be $365.94. On the proposed $19.99, it would be $371.70 for a difference of $5.76. The average home being $185,984. Or, I'm sorry, $944. So, does anybody have any questions on the tax rate, issues with the tax rate? It's been the same for the last 6 years?
No.
The whole time I've been here.
No, we dropped it back in, we lowered it back in 2013.
Okay, that was before me. So no problems with that? Okay. This is the last year after the legislature. Next year, you know, the rollback rate is 8% right now. Next year, it goes to 3.5%. So at 3.5%, if you were to do that, the tax rate would be 0.2036. But we're proposing 1999.
So we kind of feel what a lot of cities will probably do this cycle, because it's not going to take place until next year, is they're going to try to get ahead of it, because if you're in a major growth, or if you're coming off a situation where you had a lot of revenue and then you lost that revenue, and then it slowly started coming back as a city, then you're going to be pretty much in dire straits, because you're not going to have the funds there to run the city. Probably would like
So
to
a lot
have.
of cities are probably gonna jack it up this year because they can.
It's awesome. Yep. So we're not doing it.
We're not doing it.
What's our, they don't call it this, but easement rental,
Oh,
what's the impact to us on the, with
the lack of franchise fee?
the franchise fee, the dropping of it, you can't charge for both? Do we have anybody that we charge both here in town?
I'd have to look it up.
Okay, so we haven't looked at any impact on that
On that yet, no.
yet. Because that, what does that go into, January?
I think that was January 1st. Not very many of them started immediately.
Well, there's some that start immediately, some that start September 1st, and then some that start, I think, January 1st.
I think I read for cities like San Antonio, they're going to lose a significant, well,
Right.
it's all relative, but
Yeah.
a pretty large chunk. But talking to some of the mayors in Guadalupe County, that's their only form of revenue.
Yeah, New Berlin doesn't have jack.
And can't remember the name of the town. I spoke to the mayor. We saw him the other day at the legal conference. He was standing there. Same thing, and he didn't know about it. That he didn't even have a clue it was coming. Now, I think I read there was a lawsuit filed against that So that may be good.
There is, but
Yeah. You say it's printing?
On the budget, I'm gonna go over the pay scale right now, while
Okay.
that's printing. Bruce, can you help me with the 6 o'clock, if we get to 6,
Yes,
to push
yes.
the budget?
Put it on my phone, so.
Thank you. Nothing has changed on this. I had to do a few more classifications just because Bruce would like to hire a night supervisor, which would be a police corporal position. And basically, we just put them in the middle between the police sergeant and a police officer that's got his master's. So they would be a grade of 35. Other than that, nothing has changed on here.
Do you have somebody identified for that role? or-
What I did, I put it out for everybody to put, if you're interested, do resume, and then I'm gonna have probably some council people, and the mayor and Yvonne, everybody kind of go through it, see who'd be best suited for the job.
Let me go check the budgets.
So, since I wasn't here, Yvonne and I have had some conversation about it. As far as the dialogue at the first workshop on the pay scales, did it resonate or not resonate?
Well, we were on the committee, so we're
Yeah.
cool, we're groovy.
Groovy, okay. I'm good with groovy.
I'm trying to understand when was that meeting?
Which meeting, the budget workshop?
Yeah, I know I was there, I was just like,
Before
I had to go back and think.
Sometime before yesterday.
Yeah, for
Well, I was
sure.
gonna say, it seems like it's been so long since
I
we've
know,
gotten
that's what
together.
I'm saying, my
I was
gosh,
gonna say hot.
my memory is so good.
My brain is fried.
Even though you just looked at it.
Yeah.
Oh, you can give it.
Yeah.
We got lots.
Okay.
I think it's a good thing, good in the right direction. And you know, the whole reason we went down this path is no longer staring us in the face, but it's still a good thing to have, it's a good tool.
Yes.
Well, you know, Randy really kind of pushed the issue, what, about 5 years ago? About trying to come up with a, especially on the PD side, it's, you know, to give the incentive that the officer continues his education, gets his training,
Yeah.
and you have that carrot there waiting, like when they get their Master of Peace Officers certification.
What's the thing between them and like
Public works.
the public works guys, they can do other things to get here and there, different licenses.
Well, even like in Brittany's position, I was seeing, you know, the different certifications, yeah.
And court.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of avenues there. All right, anyway, sorry.
No, you're fine. The biggest challenge, of course, we know, when we were working with our group was the PD, trying to bring everybody onto a scale. So there are some officers that aren't gonna get a pay raise. I think there's only one or two. And then there's gonna be other officers that are gonna get a pretty big jump, just because one of the things with the pay scale, it builds in the longevity. So if you've been here for 6 years, you know, you're gonna be up here on the scale. So I think one of the highest was, what did I tell you this afternoon, Hank or Brian Crasher?
Brian, been here, well, Hank and Brian pretty close.
Yeah,
They,
I mean, it's
they're
almost
both
to
masters.
6,000.
But Hank's been full-time, on Brian's been here 13 years, but 8 of that was reserve.
Ain't got his Masters?
I believe so. It's not, he's real close to it.
Okay.
They all, nobody's as basic anymore. By the end of this year, I got one that's basic, but, and then Billy Warner graduates college next month, so he'll.
Does he get an extra set of handcuffs for that?
There you go.
So is this being communicated to them because you know that everybody talks, so, I mean, is the pay scale gonna be communicated to them in their reviews or whatever?
What we'll do is I'll bring each one in, and some are being paid more than they should be. Of course, we're not gonna take no money away,
Right.
and some are not being paid as much as they should.
Yeah.
So it's balanced out. I've got the scales, I'm gonna sit down each one, and this is where you're gonna go, this is what you have, and it, you know, let it fall with May.
Have you any?
It'll make it easier for you in a long run, once this gets
The only thing that'll be hard for is her. It's gonna be easy for me because I have to read the scale.
Yeah, it's easy.
But it's easy when somebody gets hired now.
Yes.
We don't have to calculate, okay, well, this officer was making this, even though he's been here 10 years, this new officer walking in with the same license is gonna make this much money. Where with the pay scale, even Jenny, who puts the people in the payroll software, is gonna be able to look at this. Cause Bruce is gonna say, this officer is an advance. Well, you're gonna go to, they're gonna be a grade 31, step 1, regardless if they have 2 years or 20 years. They'll be a 31, step 1. And I've put everybody in, and that's why you've got some officers like Hank and Crusher that have been here for so long. They're basically jumping from that first grade all the way to grade 6. And again, that's the only position, and that's just taking, we're moving a part-time to a full-time and creating a nighttime supervisor. So, on the other stuff for payroll, I did put in the 7% TMRS with a 1 to 1.5 match. And keep in mind, everything's balanced right now. We have all balanced budgets. The insurance went down, which you know, I sent everybody that sheet this weekend that gives all those costs. Anybody have any questions on payroll, benefits?
You said insurance went down?
I'm sorry. I always budget at 20%.
Oh, it went down from your budget?
It went down from me,
Okay.
but it went down from our original budget. But basically the medical, the health insurance, I budget at 20%. It's only 3%, so there was some
Okay.
savings there. Yes, thank you.
Just to cover it, I have it. So Bruce, you're looking at 2 new vehicles this year?
Yes, sir.
And
And we're getting
We're gonna buy them, we're gonna,
Save interest?
Yes,
okay.
And one is going to be an admin car.
Okay,
Hank's card.
And what, son of my,
yeah. I don't know how you're gonna pry him out of that car. Why is it then?
Move the seat to the new car?
On David's wish list, is there anything?
No, because there are some high dollar items that they're just gonna have to wait. I mean, the utility budget is just barely there. I would like to bring forward, not right now, because I'm not gonna have it ready by budget time, but I would like to bring forward a fund balance policy. And the way they've worked in the past is, in the utility fund, this is just an example, the utility fund, you're only gonna keep a reserve of $100,000. Anything over that $100,000, you put it in the capital fund. It still belongs to the utility fund, but you do that for every single account. And that way you start saving that money for the city hall, for roads, we have that street fund.
Water lines?
But water lines, sewer lines, the sewer plant.
Now, speaking of that, where are we at with the sewer plant, the raceway and all that?
Actually, you kind of threw some, we logged, Sarah. So they're looking, they have some money or some avenues to go attack some grants. So that was one of those that got lumped in there.
Do we think that that we're gonna be able to cover the full expense of that with grant money?
That just took place.
Okay,
a
so
couple
it's,
days ago.
it's all in process?
Yeah.
And it was literally like 2 hours notice. Get me a list with cost.
Gotcha, and then just,
So you gave them 7 items?
I gave them, that was the number 1 project. The number 2 project was the additional filters at the filter plant. Number 3 was the water line from the yard to the splash pad, so it would have a dedicated water
Okay.
service. And the 4th item was the symphony musical instruments at the park, which is like $20,000.
what's the projected cost of the raceway redo?
We're really still waiting on clearance to
I got a rough estimate
You did?
of like 380,000,
Okay. And that was with the deeper,
the carousel.
the tighter carousel?
I honestly didn't
Yeah.
expect it to be more, but
I did too, so that's all.
I was
Okay.
shocked when she said that just now.
You never know, there might be some bond money.
Right, well, I mean, no, but
Might be
this
bond
is-
money
it's-
left over.
I was afraid it was gonna be much bigger than that.
Yeah, it's really not high tech when you think about it. You gotta move it and it does its thing, so, doesn't have as many parts and pieces as, say, the water system
Yeah.
has. It's just,
So basically, it's gonna be a tighter radius, a taller unit.
yeah, because we don't want to approach any closer than we have to any of the, and plus we have to stay a
We're
certain
being,
distance
we're
away.
being encroached upon.
Yeah, well, by the creek, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Is there still room in there to put this new one?
yeah, there is.
There's plenty.
Going with what it is it's
Deeper.
It's deeper, smaller, and has basically stages, more stages than
And
it's.
then the
said
old one
existing.
will come out later.
I don't know if it's worth even busting it up, it would
Yeah.
just be,
Let it go dry.
yeah, it would just sit there.
But then, but is there, in the future, if we needed to use that space, we would then remediate that at that time? Or,
There's always that possibility, Martin, I kinda look at it like this, if, you know, thinking like Elmendorf did, if we were to have a large scale development come knocking on our door, then I think as a city, it would behoove us to say, you need to put your own pocket plants in.
okay, well, I like that, yeah.
Yeah, and that way it's not forcing us, because we've got limited space over there. That way it's not forcing us to have to do something outside the box. It's gonna be very expensive for all the other citizens. Yeah, you wanna put a development in, put your pocket plant in, that'll handle all
Okay,
of it.
but who maintains the pocket plant?
We will.
We will.
Yeah, it's kinda like your lift stations. You know, lift stations always get turned over to the cities.
They make the investment and we maintain it.
And the one thing we did do, kinda corrected from when I first got here, is now if a lift station goes in, we tell them what pumps we want, you know, brands, and that way the guys have one set of parts on the shelf versus you start getting
Right.
a multitude of different brands and they're trying to figure out how to fix it, so yeah, they have to pay for it, but we dictate
Okay.
what's
You
gonna
talk
go in there.
about storage or where I went.
Uh-huh.
You know, when I sold that property out on 87, I met with a lot of developers, and they're doing underground tanks now, where they're just pumping them.
There's all sorts of different.
They don't even do all that stuff. They literally put these massive tanks in,
Mhm.
and then they have a contract, and they can renew them every 5 years with the city normally in San Antonio,
Mhm.
and they just haul it in and out. They don't even do a lot of that stuff in some of those bigger developments now. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, technology's changed,
Yeah, that's why we're getting all the growth we're getting.
yeah.
Every subdivision from, past Foster Road, all the way into Laverne, it doesn't have any septic system. So they're now taking these individual little places and putting them in the subdivision.
Moved, I saw it.
Yes,
You did,
it
okay.
moved.
I tried to fix it, it apparently
I
didn't.
saw that out of the corner of my eye.
That's scary.
Ghosts.
Anyway.
So anyway,
yeah, there's lots
that's
of
my
options.
thought of the direction we would go if that day ever
Makes
came.
sense, okay.
All right, any questions on payroll or anything like
Well,
that?
you covered everything on the budget summary except the increased equipment and uniforms.
Okay. So I guess my first question would be, does anybody have any questions, concerns, or anything with the budget as it is right now? And like I said, it is balanced, every fund. There are some things that we have to purchase, like, we have to have a new server. And we're gonna purchase that this year with, some technology money that we have left over. So the increases that I sent you on the summary is gonna be in the police department. Some of it is for equipment for the new cars, and some of it is for vest. The have a couple officers that don't have their issued weapons. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct, there's 2 officers that carry their own weapons, and we furnish them for everybody else. Since we're gonna already order them and on the shelf at GT for buying 2 weapons out of this year's budget. Money that we have left over. And ballistic vests, they have a lifespan of 5 years, and everybody's are 8 to 10 years. So there is a grant out there where the government pays for 50% of the vest. The vest is about $800 or $900. So it's gonna cost us about $5,000 to buy 10 vests.
So what happens with the old vests? Can you like swap them out? Do you turn them back in and they be recycled or anything?
What we've done is, when I was in San Antonio, they give them to departments that can't afford them.
Oh, I
Or
gotcha.
even they go overseas
Oh,
to departments that can't afford them, and they, you know, they'll still work, but the manufacturer not guarantee them if you're over the lifespan.
yeah.
But there's a lot of people here and overseas would love to have a vest. Don't care what country it's in.
Isn't that unbelievable? You would think at the very least they have what they need.
And then we have to replace all of the office software too.
See those boys
Right.
that don't have what they
And that has to
need.
be done by January.
Disgusting.
The software does? You need the server to support the software?
Well, we need the server now because with everything that's going on with the malware or ransom threats.
Ransomware, yeah.
Yes, 2012 sometimes can't even back up. It's, I mean, there's no space on it.
Gotcha, yeah, we got hit with ransomware.
So, we already get all the backups every single day. They take snapshots of everything. But there's some evenings that 2012 is not backing up, and that's your police department server. So we have to get that server. So the police department has enough money this year left over to purchase it, so we'll be purchasing it. I'm hoping once I hear from Chris that we'll be putting that on order next week. Our other server is good for now. Other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. You know, salaries, TMRS, of course, medical always goes up.
Not as much as your position budget is.
The budget will not be, I will bring it to MDD and City Council on September 12th for the public hearing and to approve the tax rate and the budget. So if anybody has any concerns about anything between now and then, just get with me and I can explain it, change it, whatever I need to do, just so I have time so we can explain what was changed before during the public hearing.
Any questions, comments?
Just making sure everything's in the notes. Yeah, no, I didn't.
Okay.
The budget summary, awesome.
I thought that might help. I try to make it easy for y'all. I try.
Yeah, it is possible we could still have some extra money after we get all the projects completed.
We might, because they've all come in under budget.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I would think that would be the next project
What
if
else
we
do
do.
what do we have going on other than streets? Did they finish the streets in Country Gardens or?
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
they're long.
Oh.
Long done. Yeah,
They
they
did it
So
in less than
nice.
weeks.
They knocked that out in a matter of.
They did a really good job, I want to say, those people that did right in there, didn't you think? The streets, yeah,
So, was that under?
they were in and out. They didn't-
That was under budget also. All in,
Yeah.
all in construction has been under budget. Actually, in the last 3 or 4 years, every project we've gone out to bid for has come in under budget.
Oh, good.
And the cool part is they're targeting to be right on budget and only spend the money that we budgeted and not go above and beyond, and they're coming under. So that's cool.
Now, the street project is nothing that I budgeted, I put in the budget. And when I first got here, this M&S engineers did a 5-year project for us, and almost every one of those streets have been completed.
Just about, and, you know, when we get down to it next year, I looked at industrial today on it, because I was chasing Mark Hill dig down the road, and we're gonna have to go back and,
Redo that.
yeah, the edges are cratering it, and, I mean, that's just one that I noticed. So,
It's bad.
Where are we at on the 5-year plan?
we're like year 4, or we're almost to the complete. The only, I mean, we'll start this cycle back again.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
The
Yeah.
the Silverado and Westovers probably need to be resealed, excuse me, resealed. Micah Point was one that was on the list, got taken off the list. It's that street where the condos are.
Yeah. Can we please do, Dry Hollow and Forest with a good contractor and not the one that we used to do that the first time?
And that's the other one.
Because let me tell you.
I know, I went down there last week, I think. It's bad.
Yeah.
It is bad.
So that's
But
probably-
that was the first year of the project, of the list.
First or second year, yeah. We probably need to move those up
We're
to
the guinea pig.
first
Yeah.
of.
We're getting it effective now.
They really should have thought that
Archery,
through.
archery.
Well, actually, it was the second year, and what happened was the guy who did it the first year actually did a good job on all the streets. He did it back over here, down 342, that was kind of a real, no, that was the second year. Your streets got in the second year, and that guy had sold out, and so there was a huge difference we could see just in the thickness of the roads. So we're not even entertaining bids from those people anymore, so.
I'm hoping All In Construction will come back everywhere.
They did, if that's who did our street, they did a great job, and they took it all the way to the, I mean, it just looked good.
It looks good.
Not just
Even
quick,
the
but
sides
it
look
looked
good.
good, right?
And I hear all
Well, you know, like my driveway and, the next door neighbor, Andrew, his driveway. Harold that was Harold's old house. And Harold had gotten somebody to give him some asphalt, and he went out there and went from the roadway to his apron on the driveway. And he put it in there and tamped it down. Well, mine was gravel from there. And so I talked to the guy and I says, can y'all, pave this little area? He says, I'll have to talk to the superintendent. And so I said, okay, and I never heard anything. I went out there one day and they had a big front end loader and they were scraping all that gravel out. An hour later, they came in there with the oil put down and paved it
Wow,
on both of ours.
they're very good.
That's nice.
Well, no, we did that water line project back over here, and where the mail truck drove was right where that water line went, and they didn't compact well, so it made a ditch, and so when they were there last year, they fixed it. I mean, it wasn't a change order issue or anything, they just fixed it.
And some of our projects that are taking a lot longer because 2 major engineers left M&S, the comprehensive plan. We're falling behind, but we are still working on it. But, I mean, Tom Turk and Gary Freeman both left M&S.
Gary did all of our road stuff.
Yep.
Tom Turk kind of led the comprehensive plan to a degree.
Is Gary the one that came to the meetings?
Yes.
Yes.
He left?
He left.
Oh, he was such a nice guy.
Yep.
But that was all our history. I mean, they're the
Yeah.
ones that knew all about Vernia.
Yeah.
So they are continuing on, and I've made sure that they do not double charge us for research work because, it's not our fault that they left.
If they're guy that did all the work, and they have to get somebody to redo the work, that's on them, not on us.
Right.
Exactly, and I made that clear to them, so. But
From a project standpoint, though, well, we've got obviously the water tower. Now, I did look coming back into town a while ago, kind of see where it needs to be centered. Almost right over the feedlot barn, but maybe skewed this way just a little bit. It'll capture everybody coming up and down, coming in, 745, 1346. It'll kind of point this way. Most bang for the buck.
What do they
they're supposed to get their C of O on, scheduled for next Thursday. Dollar Tree opens next Thursday.
Not really, not that.
Me too.
I don't know if I can bring it up, but I was wondering about the water tower. Is there a reason why they stopped working?
They work on a shift schedule, because all those guys are from out of town. So they work like 2 weeks on, 1 week off, kind of stuff. They may just be at a point of waiting on something.
And what I've been-
They haven't been doing that.
Yeah.
What I've been told by an engineer, they have a date they have to be complete by. If they're not out here for 60 days, they still have to be complete by that day. Yes. Because when the water people were here, I was like, they're never here. As long as they're done by that date, it doesn't matter. They have a completion date that they have to have.
Oh, and other big news that just kind of came about the other day when we signed the paperwork. One of the things I tasked David with when we first became Public Works, because it was tasked with Jason Mills. Kind of one of the big things, it's small, I know it, but I always wanted that superior water sign on our city limits coming in and out. We got it.
No, really?
Thanks to David and
Good
Brittany's
deal.
hard work.
Awesome.
So,
That's good.
the little things in life. They mean a lot.
We do. We've
Uh,
gotten 3 this year, 3 awards this year.
But also adding on, we've got the transmission line, we'll talk about the council meeting, that project, filter plant, the addition to the filter plant on that side of things. And then obviously the construction that's proposed going across into the fire track.
A lot going on.
So, yeah, there's a lot going on, keeping all of them busy.
Yeah.
So-
Keep us employed.
Job security.
That's right.
Any other questions that anybody has?
Motion to adjourn.
Y'all want a 25-minute cookie break?
I have to go smooth it.
I will take a motion
I'll
to,
move, we adjourn the workshop from the council standpoint.
Second it.
there's that motion in a second.
All in favor? I'll
Any
second.
discussion?
Oh, did you second it?
I seconded it, but do we need to do it for?
Do we
any
need,
meeting?
do we need to do it for?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 4. We are adjourned at 6:04.